Your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald. And today we're diving into one of the most dramatic geopolitical shakeups the car world has seen in decades. In a bold move, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney declared the country's partnership with the US officially over. After 150 years of shared wars, trade, and industrial growth, aggressive tariffs from President Trump have fractured the alliance. The fallout is already shaking the auto industry, especially EVs and cross-border manufacturing. So what's next? Let's break down the 5 biggest impacts. Impact number 5. Auto workers caught in the crossfire. Before politicians feel the heat, the people on the factory floor are already burning. Automakers like Stellantis didn't wait long, furloughing 900 workers across US and Canadian operations almost overnight. And this? It's likely just the beginning. Since the 1965 Auto Pact, the US and Canada have operated like a finely tuned V8. Parts, labor, and assembly moving seamlessly across the border. That cross-border symphony? It's gone out of tune. With tariffs raising costs and injecting uncertainty, automakers are freezing new hiring, stalling EV factory upgrades, and even eyeing offshore moves to Asia or Europe. This goes deeper than just dollars and cents. EV production thrives on predictability. Long-term investments in battery plants, charging networks, and R&D don't mix well with tariff-driven chaos. Confidence is key, and when confidence stalls, so does progress. Meanwhile, countries like China are watching with a grin. Their government-backed EV ecosystem thrives on stability and scale, both of which North America risks losing in this economic tug-of-war. And as the labor market struggles, car buyers won't be spared either, especially those eyeing electric. Impact number 4. Sticker shock in the showroom. If you're thinking about buying a new car, especially an EV, it might be time to buckle up. The road just got a lot more expensive. Thanks to steep US import tariffs, some reaching as high as 25%, the price of a new vehicle is expected to rise by $8,000 to $12,500. And it's not just fully built cars taking the hit. Components like batteries, drivetrains, and charging systems, many sourced from Canada and other tariffed nations, are all caught in the crossfire. Electric vehicles are feeling the brunt. Batteries alone make up 30% to 40% of an EV's cost, and they rely on minerals like lithium and potash, heavily imported from Canada. With those materials now subject to new tariffs, automakers like Tesla, Ford, and Rivian face tough choices. Eat the cost or pass it along to consumers. Even EVs assembled in the US aren't shielded. Tesla, for instance, still sources around a third of its parts from abroad. Rising costs on aluminum, electronics, and robotics are chipping away at already slim margins. Dealerships are stuck in limbo, juggling price hikes, delayed shipments, and wavering buyer enthusiasm. The ripple effects are just beginning. Before we delve deeper, we'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels our passion to create more content like this. Now let's zoom in on how EV manufacturers are adjusting under pressure. Impact number 3. EV makers caught in the trade crosswinds. Electric vehicles were supposed to be the encore act of North America's automotive legacy, a cleaner, smarter, and more sustainable evolution of the industry. But instead of speeding ahead, the EV movement is now skidding into a wall of geopolitical instability. Major players like Tesla, GM, and Ford, and innovative upstarts like Lucid, don't build EVs in a vacuum. These vehicles are assembled through a vast global supply chain. Batteries from Asia, semiconductors from Europe, aluminum from Canada, and software developed across multiple continents. Now, with tariffs targeting nearly every link in that chain, production costs are climbing, up by an estimated $4,000 to $6,000 per unit. The result? Automakers are tightening their belts. Ford has paused new EV infrastructure in Michigan and Ontario. Rivian's second US plant is indefinitely postponed due to policy uncertainty. This opens the door for international competitors. Chinese manufacturers like BYD and NIO, backed by consistent government support and integrated logistics, are moving fast to capture global market share. Worse yet, rising prices and vanishing incentives are shaking consumer confidence. And with EV adoption still in its critical early phase, losing that momentum could be costly. But the heart of this crisis lies in something even deeper: the collapse of a historic partnership. Impact number 2. US-Canada alliance stalls in neutral. This isn't political theater, it's a full-scale rewrite of the global map. Prime Minister Mark Carney's televised message that the US-Canada relationship is over wasn't a metaphor, it was policy. For 6 decades, the two nations built one of the most productive auto alliances in history. The Detroit-Windsor corridor, shared defense production, harmonized safety standards, all gone, or at best, fraying fast. In response to Trump's sweeping tariffs and inflammatory rhetoric, Carney fired back with counter-tariffs and a pivot toward new partners in Europe and the Pacific. His message to Canadians? Prepare for a future where America isn't the default ally. This has thrown automakers into chaos. Every cross-border contract, every joint R&D project, every shared parts supply, now under threat. Battery R&D centers planned between Ontario and Michigan, delayed. Joint ventures in rare earth processing, frozen. The North American EV strategy, once hailed as a model of cooperation, now finds itself stuck between policies at odds. And if Carney succeeds in building a like-minded coalition that excludes the US, North America's influence over future EV tech could shrink dramatically, while China, India, and the EU take pole position. And if you think this is just a regional squabble, think again. The next ripple affects the entire globe. Impact number 1. A trade earthquake reshaping the auto world. What began as a North American scuffle has exploded into a full-blown global economic confrontation. With Trump's 10% blanket tariff on all imports, plus the punishing 25% levy on foreign-made vehicles, the US has sparked retaliation worldwide. China, a 34% counter tariff. The EU, preparing a 20% hit. Even the UK is signaling market backlash. The domino effect is unmistakable. Export plans halted, supply chains rerouted, and global prices rising. Jaguar Land Rover has already stopped shipping to the US, and German automakers are weighing alternative markets. Diplomatically, Canada is forging ahead with new economic alliances, with France, Germany, Mexico, and Australia topping the list. That's a hard pivot away from the US, and a warning sign that America's once dominant trade position is slipping. For automakers, the implications are massive. They're asking tough questions. Do we relocate plants overseas? Do we redesign cars to dodge tariffs? Do we shelve entire model lines? Each path is costly, and none come with guarantees. Meanwhile, protest movements at home are growing, and Washington is deeply divided. All the while, foreign automakers, hungry for market share and stability, are gaining ground. Final lap. Could this breakup derail North America's auto future? This isn't just a tariff spat. It's the unraveling of the very foundation that fueled North America's rise as a global automotive powerhouse. The breakdown between the US and Canada, layered with broader international trade tensions, is rewriting the rules of EV manufacturing, pricing, and partnerships. North America's auto future is still idling at the start line, but whether it accelerates into global leadership or stalls out entirely remains to be seen. So let's hand the keys over to you. What's your take? Can North America still steer the EV revolution forward despite escalating trade battles? Should automakers pivot toward new global alliances or invest deeper in domestic production? With vehicle prices spiking, would that sway your decision to buy electric or delay it altogether? Is this split just a political pothole or the beginning of a long detour away from cross-border cooperation? And in this global reshuffling, which nations or automakers stand to gain the most? We want to hear from the Highway Herald community. Drop your thoughts, predictions, and experiences in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates, insights, and all things auto. Thanks for riding with us. Stay passionate, stay informed, and stay in gear. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.